Greetings. I would like to welcome you all to today's African history lesson. Today, we will feature three particular topics associated with the history of Africa. These topics will be the kingdom or empire known as Aksum, the University of Timbuktu, and also Great Zimbabwe. Whenever I have the opportunity to teach about or speak about the history of Africa, it's always hard or difficult to pick a particular topic. Africa, the African continent, and its people have such a rich and deep legacy and an extensive history that it's always hard to pick one particular topic. But for the sake of today's lesson, we're going to talk about three particular topics. So let's begin. The Kingdom of Aksum, or the Empire of Aksum, was founded around 100 CE and it lasted up until 940 CE. The empire itself extended across two continents, Africa and also Asia. It extended across the present day countries or nations that we know as Somalia, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Sudan, Eritrea, Yemen, and also Saudi Arabia. Aksum was a major commercial player in the trade routes that existed between the Roman Empire, which would eventually become the Byzantine Empire by the 15th century, and also India. Matter of fact, during the third and fourth centuries, or possibly even longer, the Empire of Aksum was considered one of the great four major powers that existed in the world during that time period. Alongside the Roman, Persian, and also Chinese empires. Matter of fact, the port city of Adulis was one of the most important and also prosperous and wealthiest cities in the entire world. Aksum, through Adulis, was known to export valuable resources such as ivory, rhinoceros horn, tortoiseshell, gold, emeralds, textiles, and other natural resources, which were abundant among the African continent during that time period and also even up until today. The legacy of Aksum can still be found in Ethiopia today through its architectural feats. The obelisk of Aksum still exists within the city of Aksum, which bears the name of the empire which exists in Ethiopia. The obelisk was originally destroyed or dismantled by King Izana, who was the king of Aksum from 320 up until 360. It was housed or taken to Italy for many years, but it was returned to Ethiopia in the 1970s. Now, as we scratch the surface and we discussed a little bit about Aksum, here's a question to consider. What are some new facts that you will walk away with from this lesson? How does this change your perception of African history? So just take a minute, a brief second to just kind of ponder this question. Think about the traditional narrative that we've been told about Africa and its history and its people in our traditional textbooks. How is this perception started to shift just based on this one single narrative about the empire of Aksum? Now that we've taken that minute, let's proceed and let's talk about more of the history of Africa. Next, the University of Timbuktu. University of Timbuktu was founded in 989 CE. It's a collective term associated with three centers of learning in the city of Timbuktu, which is in the present day country that we know as Mali. During the time of Ghana Empire, the University of Timbuktu was founded, but it prospered most under the Empire of Mali. The University of Timbuktu was a renowned center of learning for the entire world during that time period. It was one of the largest and most significant institutions that existed on this planet during this particular time period after 989. There were various subjects taught. Matter of fact, it held one of the first and largest libraries that existed in the world, which actually had a library system that had over 700,000 books. And amongst those books, more than half of them were written, produced, and manufactured by African authors. Among the subjects taught were mathematics, physics, medicine, surgery, philosophy, and much more. There were even trades that were offered at the university in Timbuktu, and those trades were agricultural, farming, construction, carpentry, and even navigation. That's why we have evidence, even up until the Western Hemisphere, that there were African people who came from the Kingdom of Mali and Ghana in the Western Hemisphere before Christopher Columbus. Let's take another minute and identify at least three fields of study or subjects taught at the University of Timbuktu. Discuss how this challenged the traditional narrative of African history. Let's take a minute to process what we've learned so far about Aksum and also the University of Timbuktu. All right, I think we're ready to go to the next topic. Great Zimbabwe. Great Zimbabwe was the capital city of the Kingdom of Zimbabwe. It was constructed around the 11th century CE. Great Zimbabwe was the largest stone complex in Africa before the modern era, besides the architecture that is found in ancient Egypt or Kemet. It is believed to have been the residence of the local monarchy up until this time period, and is also described as one of the most dramatic architectural landscapes in sub-Saharan Africa. Together, the structures were composed of 250 homes that supported 20,000 people or 20,000 inhabitants. But by the 1500s or the 16th century, Great Zimbabwe political and economic influence started to decrease and it disappeared. This is a map of Great Zimbabwe, so let's take a minute to analyze and just view this map. And just look at the great architectural features and some of the great accomplishments that are manufactured and constructed by Africa and its people. My hope is that you've all learned something new or just added to the learning that you already have and the knowledge base that you already have. Africa has such an extensive and fascinating history that can be traced back to the origins of humanity and civilization. Each week, the Office of African American, Latino, Holocaust, and Gender Studies with the School District of Palm Beach County hopes that we can bring you new parts of this history, that we can talk about this history and talk about the valuable contributions that are made that have been given to society and civilization by African people. Before we conclude, I want to conclude and wrap up with this quote by Marcus Garvey. And I'm not going to read it to you. I just want to take a minute and just read this quote and how it applies to everything that we've learned today. So again, we thank you and we hope to see you next week so we can discuss more about the history of Africa. Thank you.